The next game that I'm taking a look at through video is this from Strategy and Tactics, the Italian Ottoman War of 1911 through 1912. And this game was designed by Joseph Miranda, and I would say it presents somewhat of an operational level game. It covers around 10 turns or so, which represent 1 to 2 months, depending on the amount of activity in a turn. And, the units are like regiment size and things like that. And if you like Joe Miranda operational style games, this game, you're going to find this in your wheelhouse. Um, I was interested in the topic. Plus, I tend to like most of Joe Miranda's games, so I wanted to give this a shot. Um, the engine that kind of drives the game is action points. So action points are like a very broad um, uh, idea of dealing with logistics, command control, administration, intelligence, and all of that stuff. And it just kind of puts it in, abstracts it into, action points. And so your action points are what drive the game. If you have action points to spend, you can do things. If you don't, you're done until the next turn. So, and it is an I go, you go system. So the Italians start and, they have an administrative phase where they collect their action points and recruit and do whatever they need to do. And then the meat of the game, the heart of the game, is the march and combat section. And basically you pay to activate a stack of units and they move. And then if they are allowed to combat, they do. And then if you have more points, you can activate another group, or you can activate the same group and move them again and combat again. That's until you're out of points or until you decide to stop and hold on to the rest of your points. I mean, these points are used to activate, but also to repair damaged units, to bring, reinforcements on and things like that. And then the turn after that would shift to the Ottoman player's turn, and they would do basically the same thing. It's fairly asymmetrical because the Italians are somewhat of a modern type army, even though it's only 1911, compared to the Ottomans, which are more of a mismatch of troops. Some of them are a little bit organized, others are tribal and, Egyptian forces and things like that. So that's pretty much how the game works. You win. The victory points are by holding ports in particular, and oases, which are important in the Libyan area where this war occurred. I'll also mention that both sides have events tables. So each turn includes rolling on an event table, which, it's not an extensive table. Each of them, I think, have only 6 results, but they produce some random effects. And, and there's a little bit of other chrome in there accounting for the Italian Navy and things like that. Anyway, I'm looking forward to taking a look at this game, and stay tuned if you'd like to see how the game plays through. So this is the first turn of 1911-1912 Italian Ottoman War. So I'm assuming this is probably October 1911, and the Italians came out of the box fairly strong because of the randomized setup gave them a lot of activation points. So they decided to use this and be aggressive right from the get-go, and they launch an invasion. You can see in the picture, it's showed by column A there, which has a lot of units in it. They're doing an amphibious invasion, and they land in that hexagon just east of Tripoli. And as part of their activation, they are now allowed to attack an adjacent unit. So they're going to attack Tripoli. And it turns out that Tripoli has an engineer unit, and it has a coastal defense and it's not a base. I think that's a entrenchment. I can't remember if it was an entrenchment or a base, but the picture shows an entrenchment. And you can see I have the Italian Navy on hand. They are using naval shore bombardment as well, which is going to provide some column shifts in the combat. And the Ottoman force is wiped out, and the Italian force easily captures Tripoli. One of the things I wanted to comment on about this is that the combat system here basically it is not simultaneous, and it uses something similar to the battle board, but you tally up your full combat strength, look at the modifiers, and then roll the dice, and it tells you how many hits or retreats are inflicted on the other side, and then the other side gets to do the same if anybody's left. And yeah, there is a mechanism here for one side or the other to have the advantage. And whoever has the advantage basically gets to fire first. So it's not simultaneous. And you can actually wipe someone out without any damage to yourself. The Italian commander continues with his activations, and he next wants to attack the port at Homs, which is just to the east of Tripoli, and it's defended by the 127th Ottoman wing, infantry wing, I should say. And this time the Ottoman forces actually gain advantage, and the Italians do lose 2 steps. They take them out of infantry units that are 2-step units, so they just reduce them. And then the Ottoman 127th is actually eliminated. So the Italians capture that port with some cost. Then the Italians send more troops, expending activation points to bring more troops into Tripoli. And then the Italians use an activation point to do an aerial reconnaissance over the port at Misurata. And this is not a shore thing. This is 1911, so you can see the primitive aircraft there, and they actually don't find anything. So I don't really get to look and find out who is on hand there. So it's going to affect whether I attack them or not. Next, another activation is spent, and the Italian forces decide to attack the port at Zanzari. This is a port just west of Tripoli, as you can see in the picture. And all that happens to be defending there are coastal defense forces. The Italians end up gaining the advantage, and the coastal guns are overrun, and the port and the town of Zanzari falls to the Italians. There are more activation points to spend, so the Italians activate and march toward the interior town of Mizada. And this is defended, as you can see in the picture, by the Ottoman 124th Infantry Wing. And this time the Ottomans do win the advantage. And so they decide that they're outnumbered, and they decide to withdraw. So the retreat procedure is used. They roll a die, and it's a 5. So they have to retreat 5 hexes back. So they go back to the crossroads. They stay right on that track. And the Italians subsequently capture Mezzada. That pretty much ends the Italian turn. They have to check for supply, but everybody's either in a town or a port, so there's no issues with sustenance. So we go to the Ottoman turn, and they roll an event, and they end up raising 2 militia units and 2 camel wings, which they can deploy in either an oasis or a town. And then they spend some activation points and recruit some Turkish units, as well as bring the leader Pasha on board. And I did not perform any marches. Mostly the Ottomans were trying to recover from the devastating open invasion, and they tried to rebuild some troops and kind of lick their wounds to rebuild for another turn. So this just gives you an overview of the part of the map where most of the action took place. And you can see the Italians have a fairly strong position at Tripoli, and those coastal ports nearby, but they are a little bit threatened by a substantial looking group to the east with a leader. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you're interested in seeing how more of this game plays out, please stay tuned. Have a great day.